It's a very good morning to you from the Adriatic coast of Italy. It's round 13 of the MotoGP World Championship, the Grand Prix of San Marino and the Riviera of Rimini. Well, the circuit staged its first Grand Prix in 1980. It was built to replace, well, they used to race along the seafronts here on the Adriatic coast, and that proved too dangerous. In 1993, following the serious accident of Wayne Rainey, racing Grand Prix racing ceased here, but returned in 2007 on the circuit run in the opposite direction. So let's have a look at this Misano circuit. The Marco Simoncelli, the Misano World Championship Marco Simoncelli circuit. Obviously named after the late great Marco Simoncelli, who lived nearby. 4.226 kilometres, 2.626 miles. There's 16 corners, 10 right and 6 left. Hoy Lorenzo, the circuit record and the pole position record set last year. First sector through the very twisty 1, 2 and 3 up to 4 and 5. And then one of the fastest parts of the circuit through the very fast turn 7 down to 8 and up towards 9 and 10. Release of double apex 9 and 10, then onto the back straight and the frighteningly quick Cavoni corner, turn 11. And then it tightens up and tightens up through 12 and 13. And then the start of sector 4 through 14, then the two left-handers, 15 and 16, and back into the start and finish straight. That's the lap of the Misano World Championship Marco Simoncelli circuit. Yes, that is sunshine. It's a glorious morning here in Misano. Weather forecast good. Dare I tell you, for Friday and Saturday, Sunday, fingers crossed. It's round 13 of the MotoGP World Championship. An amazing job by everybody connected in MotoGP to get here from Silverstone. Everything arrived on time, undamaged, and was set up in time for practice to get underway this morning for Moto3. And now we start with the first practice session for MotoGP. It's a very good morning to you. I'm Nick Harris, alongside me Matt Burt, and down in pit lane it's Dylan Gray. And beautiful morning, isn't it, Matt? Which, important. Let's get some sun on our backs. Let's the rider get some dry track time.
Are you saying we didn't have this glorious weather at Silverstone last weekend, Nick?
It's only been reminded to us about
Yes,
300 times already.
Well,
yeah.
What a weekend it was, though, for that young man there on your screens, the 21-year-old Spaniard Maverick Viñales. His first ever victory in the MotoGP World Championship. Suzuki's first win in the Premier Class since Chris Vermeulen was victorious at the French Grand Prix in 2007. Suzuki's first dry race win, believe it or not, since Kenny Roberts Jr. won the the Pacific Grand Prix at the Twin Ring Motegi way back in 2007. It continues a quite remarkable 2016 MotoGP World Championship. 4 first-time winners in MotoGP in the last 5 Grand Prix. We've not had 4 first-time winners since 1982. 4 different manufacturers have won this year. That's not happened since 2007. And we're on this golden streak. 7 winners in 7 different Grand Prix. That has only happened once before in the entire history of this World Championship, which started way back in 1949. We really are, Nick, living in a golden era.
Yeah, and there's all indications it's going to be equally close this weekend. Could we get another first-time Grand Prix winner? Andrea Dovizioso was asked how did he feel with all these first-time winners, and he said pretty disappointed because he has won before in MotoGP, but not on the Ducati. The local hero, he lives just over the hill in Tavula. He is God in this part of the world. And you'll hear that when he comes out on the track. Valentino Rossi, second, of course, in the World Championship. 2 podiums in the last 2 races. 5 podiums in 9 races here in his home track. And a winner in 09, 010 and 14.
Yeah, I think he's pretty popular in these parts, isn't he, Valentino Rossi? Andrea Iannone, of course, big race for Ducati as they chase victory on home soil. Tough weekend for Ducati at the British Grand Prix. Not a tough weekend on home soil for Cal Crutchlow, who is riding in the form of his life, of course, sporting that special Castrol livery this weekend in Misano. Cal Crutchlow, for me personally, Nick, and I'm sure you'll agree, he took that brilliant career first victory in those wet conditions in Brno. Britain's first winner in the Premier Class for 35 years, but the way Cal rode in the dry last weekend at Silverstone to beat Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi in the dry, that was unbelievable performance.
Certainly was. Hopefully we're not going to get too much into tyres this weekend, but I suspect we are, because Michelin have already come up with something new.
Yeah, they have. Three front tyres in the allocation, the hard, medium and the soft. Now the two new front tyres in the allocation, which is going to be the big talking point of the weekend, they are the soft white banded front tyre and the medium, which is the clear tyre that has no band on it. Both new tyres. A lot of the riders were saying that's going to be an interesting aspect to this weekend. Now Michelin say it's got a slightly stiffer casing. They've designed it for more stability. And then what they say as well is, although it's slightly harder, it should be generating less temperature, which of course then hopefully will give the rider a little bit more consistency and durability over the race run. So Andrea Dovizioso and Marc Marquez were saying a big test of this morning session will be to just get an understanding and a feel for certainly those two new front tyres that are in the allocation.
Well, Dylan, down in pit lane, I saw you working away in Moto 3 with your short sleeve shirt. That must be pleasant to start with.
No, very nice. I really don't want to say anything nasty about Silverstone, but a morning in Misano is a little bit nicer than a morning in England. Just a quick word on the tyres, guys. Yes, that's soft and medium new front. That's actually what the entire grid has gone out on at the moment. We've seen Marc Marquez and Maverick Vinales, for instance. They've gone out medium front, medium rear, so they already feel that the track is in a good enough state to try that. Whereas the Yamahas have already gone out softer option front and medium option rear.
Yeah, it's interesting, that new front tyre allocation, because I think Marc Marquez was quite quick to point out, yeah, okay, it's going to be a slightly stiffer casing, which should, in theory, and they hope, give them perhaps a little bit more stability, certainly a little bit more durability. But he said, you know, if you do go harder on the front end, it can just make it a little bit, you get a little bit less warning when the tyre goes from underneath you. As we look at Xavi Forés, of course, standing in for the injured Loris Baz, isn't he?
Yeah, unfortunately, Loris Baz, that massive crash at Silverstone, probably did suffer a little bit of concussion. There was thoughts that he would be fit. I think he went for a scan on Monday and they said, no, let's rule him out of this one. There's no race next week, so by the time we arrive at Aragon, he should be fit, but he has had an injury-hit season. Here's a Xavi Forés replacing, and also another rider in no great supplies. Michele Pirro, of course, the test rider for Ducati, also in the race on Sunday.
Well, Xavi Forés has got this dream opportunity to come into the MotoGP World Championship, because normally, of course, if a Ducati rider was injured, Michele Pirro would be the chosen one, but he was already allocated a wild card here this weekend for the factory Ducati team. So what an opportunity for Xavi Forés, as he said, a dream come true. The 30-year-old campaigns the Barney Racing Ducati in the World Superbike Championship, a best of 4th place in Aragon this year, and in Misano actually. He had a good ride when the World Superbikes were here just a few weeks ago, so we'll keep a close eye on his progress this weekend. There's been nothing wrong with the progress of late of this man, Cal Crutchlow.
No, his 100th Grand Prix appearance on Sunday, all in the MotoGP class. World Supersport winner here back in 2009. Bit mixed since then, 6th in 2013 and 11th last year, but as Matt so rightly said, and I totally agree with you, I think the ride at Silverstone was even better than the ride in Brno, to beat Marc Marquez, to beat Valentino Rossi in a straight fight on a dry, fast track. It just shows what has happened to Cal Crutchlow. Complete turnaround in his fortunes.
Well, Cal Crutchlow feels about 10 feet tall at the moment, doesn't he? That's the sort of form he's riding at the moment. He's never had 3 podium finishes in a row. Can he do that this weekend at Misano? He was the first British rider in his home Grand Prix in the Premier Class since Jeremy McWilliams way back in 2000 at Donington Park to stand on the podium in his home Grand Prix. And of course, that coincided with Valentino Rossi's first ever victory in the Premier Class.
Good to see Pol Espargaro back in action as we go down to Dylan.
Sorry guys, just wanted to mention that Danilo Petrucci, he came straight back into pit lane. He had a problem with his dashboard. Now the team, they didn't want to take any risks or too much time to see whether they could fix it, so they decided they just popped the tyres on to his number 2 bike, so he's having to work on that for now.
Yeah, while Loris Baz is out of action following the crash at Silverstone, the other man involved was Pol Espargaro. He has obviously been declared fully fit. is a man that may have only picked up fourth place at Silverstone. He still has a 50-point lead in the World Championship, and he has got a very good record here indeed, Marc Marquez.
Yeah, he has a 125cc winner back in 2010, double winner in Moto 2 in 2011 and 2012. Pole here in 2013, but finished the race in fourth, and of course crashed out while he was chasing Valentino Rossi a couple of years ago in 2014, but winner in that flag-to-flag race here 1 year ago, Marc Marquez. He crosses the line, goes immediately to the top of the timesheets, a 1:34.615, and all season long, Nick, we've been wondering when that sort of devil inside Marc Marquez would come out. You know, he's been saying all year, I'm riding a more calmer, more mature approach, thinking about the World Championship. Well, that devil that's been peering on over his left shoulder all season came to the fore, shall we say, the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, perhaps we're only about 2 laps, but the phenomenal battle between Valentino Rossi, Marc Marquez, Cal Crutchlow, as good as you'd want to see. And you got to say, it was Crutchlow that came out on top. Marquez said, yeah, he made probably a mistake on tyre choice and made a little mistake in the middle of that battle, and still has that 50-point advantage. But it's going to come out soon for a whole race, isn't it? And we are going to see one mighty confrontation between the Doctor, as we see now, and Marc Marquez.
Well, the best thing was as well, you know, we talked to all those, right, well, you spoke to them in the press conference, certainly Cal Crutchlow and Valentino Rossi, Nick, and the great thing was that they all said, yeah, it was hard racing, it was close racing, but it was fair, and we all absolutely loved it, didn't they?
Jorge Lorenzo, really, where do we start with Jorge Lorenzo? He has got this an amazing record here. 250cc winner in 27 in a pole position. A second 08, 9 and 10, then 3 straight wins, 11, 12 and 13. Second in 14, crashed last year. But he's in the middle of probably one of the worst runs he's had. Well, we've got those 3 wins, but then just 1 podium in the last 6 for him. And you wonder when the run is going to end. If it's going to end anywhere, if the weather's good, it could be here with his good record. But we keep saying that at every race, don't we?
I mean, you say, yeah, arguably one of the worst periods of his career. Nick, he scored 31 points, Lorenzo, in the last 5 Grand Prix, and 16 of those came in one race at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. He's having an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, and Cal Crutchlow, I think, in that 4 races has scored 66 points, hasn't he? And that's the difference. And that was a poor result in...
early crash for Andrea Iannone. Early crash for the Italian. Well, that's a nightmare start to his home Grand Prix for Iannone, who crashed out of 2nd place just 5 days ago in the British Grand Prix. That looked like that was in one of the fast right-handers.
Well, I hope he's okay. Iannone has not got up.
Hopefully he's just winded there.
Hopefully just winded, yeah.
Yeah, it's the last of the rights, isn't it? Turn 13.
Yeah, turn 13. Cavoni is the really quick, then they start slowing for 11 and 12, but 13 is still quick enough. Let's have a look at it. That's Cavoni. This is 12 and 13 coming up.
Yeah, there you go. Was he just braking on the curve on the outside? It was difficult to tell there, but he might have just been grabbing a handful of brake on the curve. What we do know is that he's got that bike's ended up rolling over, and Iannone's on his feet. I think he might have just been winded slightly as he tumbled through the gravel trap. Dylan.
No, it's quite interesting. I was actually speaking with Ducati yesterday. You know, we talked about what is the key for this track in terms of setup, and they say, well, look, you obviously need quite a nimble, almost quite a nervous bike for all the tight corners here. But they're saying, especially turn 11, 12, and 13. They say it's so tricky to get that right because, you know, you need a nervous bike beforehand, but there you need it so stable for exactly what you guys said. It's braking on the angle. That is the biggest compromise they have to find at this circuit.
Yeah, I wonder what tyre he was on as well, and I'm sure you'll see when the bike comes back to the garage, you know, whether he was on that new soft or new medium.
I'll go and check. He was definitely on one of those. He definitely wasn't on the hard, but I'll get back to you in a second.
Well, it was a big crash, wasn't it? Really big crash.
Well, it's different fortunes for his teammate Andrea Dovizioso, who has gone top. This is Scott Redding, who had a great result here last year. Crashed out on lap 7, picked the bike up. Changing conditions. You remember Bradley Smith carried on all the way through on those slick tyres to finish 2nd. Scott Redding finished in 3rd place.
Yeah, I think Scott Redding, if my memory serves me right, he was the first rider since Casey Stoner at Laguna Seca in 2008 that actually crashed in a MotoGP race and still finished on the podium. Of course, that Casey Stoner 2008 race is one that most of you will be pretty familiar with because it was that epic fight he had with Valentino Rossi in California.
Did he crash in the last corner, Casey Stoner? I think he did, that's right, yeah. We ride with Marc Marquez, currently running in 5th place. This is through that right, that's turn 13. 14 and 15 coming up. First of the left-handers, 15, and then turn 16, final corner. Remember, Iannone and Pol Espargaro here exchanged blows. Well, I think the blows actually only came from the Italian after they'd both gone down in a 125cc race, it must have been, mustn't it?
Why are they calling the Maniac again? Remind me. Yeah, bad start to the weekend though for Andrea Iannone. Of course, he crashed out of 2nd place in that British Grand Prix. Interesting as well, both the factory Ducati riders, we know that Ducati's made big strides this year. Very fast and competitive motorcycle, but it's a physical bike to ride. Both Andrea Iannone and Andrea Dovizioso suffered pretty big arm pump problems 5 days ago at Silverstone. As we see Latihan Espargaro briefly up into 4th because Valentino Rossi's into 2nd place with a 1:35.019. So Valentino Rossi just 0.05 of a second behind Dovizioso's best place. Here is poor old Andrea Iannone. As we said, the worst possible start to this weekend. Ducati were only here testing a couple of weeks ago, so they would have quite a lot of recent and relevant information around this Misano circuit.
Yeah, the general feeling in the press conference from the other riders was Ducati would probably have the advantage this morning and perhaps this afternoon, but that would be pretty evened out by practice, 3rd practice tomorrow morning. But that's a bit of a disaster from Andrea Iannone. Here we go, let's have a look at it again. Did he brake on the curb? He was pretty close, that, isn't he?
I think, yeah. We just hear that sort of rumble there as he braked. Was he on? As Dylan said,
that's the consensus down here actually, that it wasn't so much an extra problem with the braking, but that he did hit the curb exactly. Yeah. You see just a tiny little bit, and it seems to be word was that he was on that softer option front.
Yeah, I thought from the initial shot that he was braking on the curb. 2 things there, as Dylan pointed out. 1, you're braking at high speed with lean angle, and 2, when you're on the curb. Well, unfortunately, it's only going to end in one thing, and Andrea Iannone found out in pretty painful fashion.
Back with Scott Redding. Just looking at these lap times, 1:34.014 for Andrea Dovizioso. The pole time set by Jorge Lorenzo last year, 1:32.146. The race time, a 1:33.273. Also set by Jorge Lorenzo last year because he crashed out when they came in and changed tyres, didn't he? Well, I remember the commentary. I remember your comment. This could be the crash that cost him the World Championship. He did very, very well to fight back despite all the controversy in those last couple of races.
There's Scott Redding. Tough old British Grand Prix for him last weekend. 2 crashes. Disappointment for the British rider.
Yeah, he's had a decent old season, Scott Redding. He's had his ups and downs, but he has showed us some really good form. The 3rd at Assen, then he had a 4th in Germany, didn't he? But as you say, out of the points at Silverstone. 3rd here in last year, to crashing on lap 7, yeah, and it was his first MotoGP podium. Andrea Dovizioso's had a bit of arm pump problem at Silverstone, but I think probably caused as much as anything having to adjust to that knee injury he had, and he was saying yesterday the knee that he retweaked. He crashed here in the practice a couple of weeks ago, then crashed again at Silverstone. I just think it caused him a few more problems, and he said it's still very, very sore indeed.
Yeah, I think the fact that Iannone and Dovizioso both had arm pump problems, it just shows what a physical bike that Ducati is to ride. That brilliant slow-mo through that fast turn 11.
285 kilometres an hour.
I mean, look at that. It's almost 300 kilometres an hour with your knee on the deck. Rather than me, I would say.
Dead right. It's one of the great corners, the Cavoni corner. Misano is a circuit that is not often mentioned when you talk about great circuits. That corner with the grass bank behind and the fans is a very, very special place, isn't it? And fast. Oh.
Yeah, that separates the men from the boys, doesn't it? You can't believe, can you? We were talking about this in the car yesterday, that we've had 7 different winners in the 2016 MotoGP World Championship, 7 in a row, and Dani Pedrosa's not been one of them. Can Pedrosa and Dovizioso carry that
sequence? That's the 2, isn't it? That is the 2 that could carry on the sequence.
We have never, ever in history had 8 different riders win 8 races in a row. We've had 8 riders win in a single season, but not in succession.
There is Valentino Rossi, 2 wins for him. Both of them in Spain in very hot conditions, funnily enough, Jerez and Barcelona for Valentino Rossi. In good nick, couple of podiums the last 2 races. Says he's just going to go out there and fight for the podium, not think about the championship. Alex Lowes, what a ride by him, replacing the injured Bradley Smith. 13th place in Silverstone, superb performance. I looked through Martin Reigns' record, and I would never doubt his record. Did you know that Alex Lowes rode in a 125cc Grand Prix?
Yeah, was that in 2006?
You know, I honestly did not have the faintest no recollection of that at all.
Yeah, it was a great performance by Alex Lowes, of course, because it was a weekend that was punctuated by lots of wet weather problems. So, you know, he didn't have a chance to get in full dry setup. You know, he never used the bike with a full fuel tank in the race. I don't think he'd done more than 6 laps on slick tyres, so he had no idea how the tyres were going to change performance as the race wore on at Silverstone. Of course, he never started a race. You know, the clutch works a lot differently on a MotoGP bike than it does in World Superbike. So yeah, it was Alex Lowes covered himself in a lot of glory last weekend. Of course, standing in for the injured Bradley Smith last weekend at Silverstone. Definitely here in Misano. Not quite sure what the Tech 3 Yamaha team will be doing as we progress into the final 5 races of the MotoGP World Championship. Yeah,
Bradley Smith, I believe, is seeking one more consultation with another top surgeon before deciding exactly what to do, but it does appear he could be out of action for some time. Good news is that the surgeons he's already seen have said you can make a 100% recovery. Their surgeons have looked after footballers and skiers. Everybody that really knows about ligament injury, but it's the time frame, isn't it? Kelly Pirro. He's ridden the 3 different Ducatis this season, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Kelly Perry, he's your dream test rider. He's a former Grand Prix winner, of course. He won that Moto 2 race in Valencia 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think the only Ducati he's not ridden this year is the Aspar Ducati, isn't it?
Yeah, he's ridden everything out. Good, as I say, to see Paul Espargaro back. That was a massive accident, turn 2 at Silverstone. Of course, the race was stopped after half a lap because of the accident. And Pole has got a decent record here. Moto 2 winner 2013 from pole position, 2nd in 2012, 6th in 2014. There was a mechanical problem in that very disrupted race here last year that kept him out of the reckoning.
Well, here's Tito Rabat, a former Moto 2 world champion. He'll be looking for a few comforts around this Misano circuit, one of his favourite tracks. He's got a good record here as well. Rabat won in 2014, the year that he captured the Moto 2 World Championship. Podium finishes either side of that as well in 2013 and 2015 as we get away from one of his mechanics, Craig Burton there. But it has been a very, very difficult first year in the MotoGP World Championship for about 19th in the World Championship standings for the 27-year-old. Not on a bad run of form though at the moment, to be fair to Rabat. He's had point-scoring finishes now in the last 3 races, which included a pretty decent run to 10th in that wet Renault Grand Prix. But what he needs to do, Rabat, is just reduce that gap to the leading grid, which is a bit too big, really.
Guys,
yeah.
quick word on Valentino Rossi. He was just about to come out the pits. They tried to start the bike 4 times. It would start very briefly and then it would stop. So there seems to be some sort of issue there. I'll see if I can find out what it is and whether they can get him back out soon.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Just another quick word about Tito Rabat. Marc Marquez is his great mate, was asked yesterday. He said it's tough for him, but he's come into this championship. Won the Honda's probably not as strong as it has been in other years, and the competition level is so high. He said 100% he will keep at it.
Yeah, Dylan, just while you camped outside Valentino Rossi's garage, we know last weekend that Honda gave Cal Crutchlow a new chassis, and Cal confirmed that he did race. There was a bit of dust kicked up there. Looks like we've had a faller coming through turn number 15.
Yeah. Final, but not the final corner, but the final right-hander.
Just bear with us a second, I'll come back to you very shortly because we just want to find out what happened at turn number 15. I don't know whether somebody's had a run-off or what, but there's definitely some dust being kicked up as we track Maverick Vinales, the Silverstone winner, coming through that part of the circuit. Yeah, it's Eugene Laverty actually that's gone down. So problems for Eugene Laverty, the Aspar Ducati rider. He seems perfectly okay at turn number 15. That fast left, the penultimate corner on the circuit. I'm sure we'll get a replay shortly of what happened to Laverty. Well, there you go. I'm pretty sure he lost the front end just going in there on that GP 14.2. Sorry, Dylan, I'll come back to you now. I was just going to ask you, we know Cal Crutchlow raced a new chassis that Honda gave him at the British Grand Prix. We know Valentino Rossi tried a new chassis in practice at Silverstone, which he tested and liked in Renault. But because he hadn't had so much dry experience with it, he decided not to race it. Are they going to persevere with that here this weekend in Misano?
Well, he's got 2 new new looking chassis in the box. I'm actually just queuing up to find out what happened with the engine, but also check with the chassis. So there's definitely a big change. The chassis that Jorge Lorenzo has are certainly the older style chassis, so I'm almost 99% sure that Valentino Rossi is on those newer style chassis. However, it is still best if I confirm it, because the differences, they really are minute. And now, once I've got you guys, so they've taken no risks with the bike that wouldn't start. They've popped the same tyres back onto the #1 machine, and they're sending him back out again with that. And I'll try and grab a word with Yamaha in a second.
Well, arriving Marc Marquez, race winner last year through the very turn 7, down towards turn 8. It's quite difficult, just dips in a little bit down to turn 8, then a run along before you come to the succession of right-handers that bring you onto the back straight.
Yeah, here comes Marc Marquez then, powering out of the Tramonto corner, turn number 10, then through this magnificent turn 11.
287 kilometres an hour. And now he starts braking. You're braking well leant over. It looked like Andre, you know, and he just clipped the curb there when he crashed the Ducati. And it tightens and tightens and tightens all the way to turn 14.
This is where Marquez crashed a couple of years ago, wasn't it, when he was chasing Valentino Rossi through the fast left-hander. This is where Jorge Lorenzo crashed in the race last year. And it's hard on the brakes for this final corner. We've seen a bit of drama down there, and here's is a favourite overtaking place, that run to the last corner. Marquez powers that Honda out of the final corner and stays in 3rd place. Maverick Vinales is on a good lap. Now, we were wondering how the Suzuki would perform in these slightly hotter conditions. If there's been a weak link for the factory Suzuki, it's been in these hotter ambient temperatures, but Vinales is going exceptionally well on this lap. Dylan.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just going to bring you back down to Yamaha. I'm here with Massimo Meregali. There seem to be some problems starting Valentino's #2 machine. Do you know what the issue might be?
No, they are just checking. We really don't know.
In terms of the chassis, we know last time out Valentino tried one new one, one old one. Both chassis look quite new. Has he now got both of the new ones?
Basically, we decided to go back to the standard one just because it was not the proper timing to do comparison. And yeah, just for this reason, this race is very important for us. We don't want to spend time for these things.
And in terms of the swing arms between Valentino and Jorge, is Jorge sticking with the new swing arm? Sorry, he's just gone to a look whilst we're talking. Hold on. I'll be back with you in a second. He just walked
Dylan,
off to check.
chase in there. Get in there, Dylan.
Sorry guys, both old, he's just told me. Both old.
Right, many thanks. This is Valentino Rossi running in 3rd place, but you're right about Maverick Vinales, Matt.
Yeah, we got our answer about the Suzuki in the hotter conditions, because Maverick Vinales on that last lap around, they were 1:34.010, put Vinales top of the timesheets by just 0.04 of a second, clear of Andrea Dovizioso as we track Rossi down to turn number 8.
Remember that corner the year we returned, 2007? There was so much water there that one of the technicians went out, and he was up to his chest in water because they couldn't get... The whole day was cancelled, wasn't it, in the end?
Well, the pit lane was completely flooded, wasn't it?
Completely flooded. The water couldn't get away because of the Armco barrier.
Yeah, you didn't need a motorcycle, you needed an arc that day.
Somebody put a duck out, I remember, too.
Yeah. Standard shot.
Yeah, sort of duck shot, yeah. Back with Valentino Rossi. Said he first came here, obviously, to run the opposite way round. First time he ever rode a motorcycle, a proper motorcycle, was around this circuit. It's an area just steeped in motorcycle history, the Adriatic coast of Italy.
Look at this, Danny Pedrosa's gone top of the time sheet.
Well, he wants to get it.
Yeah. Oh no, is that Marquez or Pedrosa? That's Marquez. It is Marc Marquez. Well, we've seen crashes already for Andrea Iannone and Eugene Laverty. It's a slow crash for Marc Marquez. That looks like that's down at turns 9 and 10. It's down at Tramonto, yeah, number 10. So Tramonto's where Marc Marquez has been caught out.
Looks like he's obviously okay. Looks like he may even get the bike back. Can they restart it?
He's just had a very small front end tuck there, hasn't he, Marquez? Boy, he was pushing Nick. He was up by 0.2 of a second through the first 2 splits, so pushing the limits and just nudging over it, Marc Marquez.
And just to remind you guys that he was on that medium option front.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, he's come to the test in the medium option front and fails the test, you've got to say then. just pushing a little bit too hard, I think, as you'd say. He was up. The third split time was about to appear.
Yeah, he got stuck under the bike there, Marquez. This is this great camera on the inside of the track. Look how quickly he came to a stop there.
Ooh, not a nice place to stop either.
No, he was trying to get out of the way pretty quickly there.
Marc Marquez on his way back in. We have just over 18 minutes remaining. This is the first practice session for round 13 of the MotoGP World Championship. And Danny Pedrosa with a 1:33.941. The only rider in the 1:33s, Danny Pedrosa. And it was funny how we were talking earlier saying with Andrea Dovizioso and Danny Pedrosa, well, they could continue the run of these fresh Grand Prix winners this season. They're the two you would probably look at to do exactly that. Marc Marquez back in unscathed.
If you look at his bike, it doesn't actually look like it's been crashed on the right-hand side. Basically, the bike was protected by his body underneath him. The bike actually doesn't look like it's got a single mark on it, Dylan.
The only little mark you can see is actually on the right handlebar counterweight. That's the only mark there is.
Watch the shadow. Oh, shadow's disappeared. Poor Marc Marquez is going to disappear. Oh, yeah. He can't get. Actually, that could have been nasty. He couldn't actually get off, could he?
No, I think what happened there was he just started to feel. He got get back on the gas. You could just hear him wind the power back on. He's probably just unloaded the front end. Bit too much weight transferring to the rear, and down the front end he goes. And Marquez was talking yesterday, wasn't he? He was curious. He seemed more curious than a lot of the other riders talking about these new allocation Michelin tyres. Back to you, Dylan.
No, sorry, I was just going to add to that because I also spoke with Michelin yesterday, and they said the biggest difference with the carcass, as you rightly said, Matt, it is a little bit harder than the one before, but it's specifically noticeable when braking at an angle. So they said in the first few laps, they said the riders might feel that they're not getting enough feel from it as they are tipping in, because as we know, these guys, they brake almost right until the apex. But they said what this tyre should allow them to do is actually brake for harder and for longer going into the turn. But that's naturally something which the riders need to get used to. So if you do unload the front too early, which you might have done on a slightly softer carcass, that's now something where you have to say, right, maybe not unload it and just leave the brakes on that little bit longer.
Two riders who are not in form at the moment, Pedrosa and Lorenzo, swapping positions at the front. It's Pedrosa who's just retaken the lead from Lorenzo. It's a 1:33.786 with 16 minutes to go. Here we are, confirmation where we're at.
Yeah, a bit more like it from Danny Pedrosa. He leads the way with that 1:33.786. And all Spanish top three, Pedrosa, Jorge Lorenzo and British Grand Prix winner Maverick Vinales. Dovizioso, Rossi and Marc Marquez after a crash at turn 10 inside the top six. And we've got Pol Espargaro, Aleix Espargaro and the Ducati wildcard Michele Pirro there in ninth. Top 10 completed by Brno winner Cal Crutchlow.
Good performance so far by the Aprilia of Stefan Bradl, Andrea Iannone, another faller up at a turn 13. Scott Redding, Danilo Petrucci, Hector Barbera, Jack Miller and Alvaro Bautista, former 250cc winner at the circuit, as is Hector Barbera. Eugene Laverde, another faller, Tito Rabat, Yoni Hernandez, Alex Lowe's and Javier Flores at the moment in 22nd place. Look at the clock, quarter of an hour left for this first practice session, and back in the man that leads the way, Danny Pedrosa. And
while we were running through those timesheets, Cal Crutchlow, who was 10th, fired himself up inside the top three, a 1:33.989. Crutchlow third on the LCR Honda. So Pedrosa, Lorenzo and Crutchlow, the only three at the moment who've been able to break into those 1:33s. Confidence is a massive thing for these riders, Nick, and you can just see it oozing out of every pore of Cal Crutchlow's body. He could walk on water at the moment, Crutchlow. It's the purple patch we've never seen from him before in his career. You can just see that the confidence after all those crashes early on in the season has just come flooding back, and Cal Crutchlow now you feel is going to be a podium threat for the final part of the season. He's going nowhere, is he?
No, couldn't agree with you more. And obviously, as we spoke about the Silverstone result, obviously the other results were great results. but they did come in mixed conditions, but he just showed the confidence that had returned.
Well, you were talking earlier on, Nick, about how many points he's amassed in those last 4 Grand Prix.
66, isn't it?
66 points, Cal Crutchlow. As we look at Pol Espargaro, what a ride by Pol Espargaro, just 5 days after that massive crash at the British Grand Prix. Pol Espargaro up in a second with a 1:33.854. Cal Crutchlow in the last 4 Grand Prix, as Nick said, 66 points. There's nobody better. Marc Marquez is second, just 1 point behind Cal Crutchlow. And if you look at Cal Crutchlow's record, 66 points in the last 4 Grand Prix, it's only 5 less than he managed in the previous 16 races.
Yeah, confidence in any sport, but I think especially in this sport.
This is a bit worrying
and I think especially for Cal Crutchlow as well.
A bit worrying for Andrea Iannone, unfortunately. There you can see on that graphic running across the bottom of your screens, the Italian has had to be taken to the medical centre for x-rays. We'll bring you updates on that as soon as we possibly can. He was very slow, was he, to get to his feet, Andrea Iannone. We thought he might have been winded, but clearly he's in some pain. He's identified some pain, notified the team, and Andrea Iannone, as you can see, is in the Circuit Medical Centre for x-rays. We're not quite sure what the injury is. I'm sure Dylan will be keeping us updated as quickly as he possibly can. Look at this from Pol Espargaro on another quick lap. Yeah,
end of the 3rd sector time coming up any moment now as we look at Danilo Petrucci, crosses the line and goes up a couple of places. We're still very tight for Pol Espargaro. You say 5 days ago he was involved in that spectacular accident at Silverstone, and here he is running in 2nd place. Can he take over at the front with 12.5 minutes to go?
He's over the line now, Pol Espargaro. He does, 1:33.642. Good final sector then from the Spanish rider. He's a 1/10.5 almost clear of Dani Pedrosa.
Well, 4 riders in the 1:33s: Pol Espargaro, Pedrosa, Lorenzo and Crutchlow.
Are we going to see another big shock here in Misano? We hadn't seen an independent team rider win for 10 years before Jack Miller and Cal Crutchlow came to the fore. Maverick Vinales, of course, winning on the Suzuki for the first time in 9 years, last time out of the British Grand Prix. Believe it or not as well, it's now been 3 races in a row where no factory Honda or Yamaha has won. That's the first time since 2008. I think when Casey Stoner won 3 in a row for Ducati. Just shows again what a phenomenal MotoGP World Championship has been this year.
Well, we spoke about Dani Pedrosa, we spoke about Andrea Dovizioso. Perhaps they're the next ones to win their first Grand Prix of the season. Can we rule out Pol Espargaro? He's never had a MotoGP podium, hasn't he? But he looks in very good form indeed. Turn 11. What a special shot that is. 225 kilometres an hour. Actually, I think we've seen people a bit faster through there, haven't we? I think about 285, Andrea Dovizioso.
Guys, just a very quick word. So I've heard from the Ducati team that they're apparently looking at his back. Okay, that's all I know at the moment. Obviously speaking about Andrea Iannone there. The other thing I wanted to mention is with Marc Marquez. So they have sent him back out on exactly the same bike, exactly the same tyres. They've just bled the brakes somewhat, and they have decided to put in a new set of springs. I unfortunately don't know whether they are harder or softer springs.
Here's Aleix Espargaro. It's unfair to really say on the 2nd Suzuki, but I suppose with Maverick Vinales where he is in the championship, you would have to say that is the case. 7th at Silverstone, 12th in the World Championship, and 10th here last year.
Yeah, he hasn't got a great record here in Misano, Aleix Espargaro. He had technical problems that forced him to retire in 2011 and 2012. He jumped the start in 2013 and then crashed out in 2014.
Was it on the last lap he crashed? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, there's that new 360-degree gyroscopic camera, which you saw brilliantly bring us some awesome footage last time out at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. He was quite a good cameraman for us, old Valentino.
I'll tell you what, he's got a job lined up, didn't he? They were asking him yesterday, because there was a very moving ceremony yesterday when Marco Simicelli's at number 58 was retired from the entry list in recognition of Marco. His father Paolo was there to receive an engraved a number of 58. Of course, it's nearly 5 years ago that he lost his life in Malaysia. And Valentino Rossi was asked, would you like to retire number 46 when he retires from racing? He said, no, anybody can have number 46 when I retire, but I don't plan for that to happen for a few years. And anybody saw the smile he had on his face after Silverstone in the press conference. He said that was just such fun.
Absolutely. Well, yesterday, of course, it was confirmed that the MotoGP World Championship will be coming to the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, for the next 4 years at least, 2010. Now, have they got inside information? Has Valentino Rossi already agreed another 2-year contract?
Yeah, quite likely, because without a doubt, it's his popularity. As you said, this Adriatic coast of Italy, though, for many, many years, has been a hotbed of MotoGP racing.
It's unbelievable.
Andrea Dovizioso, the late Marco Simoncelli, Valentino Rossi, and then the bevy of young Italian riders now with Valentino Rossi's ranch and everything else. This is what MotoGP is. It's in the blood, rather like the Saxon Ring, isn't it? It's a certain area where it's in the blood of the area.
It's quite amazing how this little pocket of the world has produced some of the greatest motorcycle races in history. And Valentino Rossi said yesterday, if you're not born in this area, the young riders now, Franco Morbidelli was born in Rome, but he's moved to this area. You know, this is where the riders come to train. They've got the climate, and there's just such a passion for two wheels around this area. It's brilliant. Dylan.
Just a quick word on tyres, guys. I've just seen Valentino Rossi. He's now headed out for these final 8 minutes. First time I've seen with the medium option front and hard option rear, whereas Lorenzo, he's just leaving pit lane. He's deciding to stick with the used soft option front and medium option rear.
Well, here is Valentino Rossi. The LCR Honda team fans in good spirits because of this man.
Yeah, they've seen...
Good team to support at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. Carl Crutchlow is the four-man in the MotoGP World Championship. Good luck coming in from Andrea Dovizioso. The Italians had a good run through the third sector. You can see there on your screens there. Here is Marc Marquez back after that crash at turn number 10. Marquez over the line, picks up 4 places from 9th to 4th with a 1:33.988. So we've got 5 riders in those 1:33s. What about Dovizioso? He goes third, 1:33.863. Lost a couple of tenths in that final sector, did Dovizioso last time around.
7 minutes to go. First practice for round 13 of the MotoGP World Champion as Tito Rabat is down. Well, that's the bike, and Tito Rabat is a perfectly
same place as Iannone. 13, unlucky for some, and it's unlucky for Iannone and for Tito Rabat.
So a few crashes. Marc Marquez, Andrea Iannone, here we go. Tito
We lost
Rabat
on the inside.
Yeah, very different crash, wasn't it, to Iannone was on the outside. That was definitely on the inside of the corner.
Well, that was just a classic case there of Tito Rabat just carrying way too much speed. He was never going to make that corner, just in way too hot Tito Rabat.
This is Yoni Hernandez. Crashed here in 2015. 10th though. Good result here a couple of years ago for him. 22nd in the World Championship. Those best results, 11th at Brno and 11th at Silverstone. So at the right time of the season, looks like he's going to remain with the Aspar team. He's picking up the good results.
Yeah, it looks like it's a formality for Yoni Hernandez to be staying with the Aspar team, of course, with Eugene Laverty confirming recently that he's venturing back to the World Superbike Championship after a 2-year stint with the Aspar project. Hernandez over the line, stays in 19th place. Lorenzo's on a good lap, the reigning world champion, who you do feel, unfortunately for Lorenzo, in terms of his championship challenge, 64 points. We had another fall, that's Danilo Petrucci. So quite a few riders are being caught out this morning. Petrucci quickly goes to check that left shoulder as he tweaked it. Seems okay. That's at turn 15. So the second, we've had 2 falls at turn 13 and now 2 falls at turn 15. At 15 we've had Laverty and now Petrucci down.
Walks away okay. This is Alvaro Bautista. Confirmed, of course, next season at Aspar. 250cc winner here in 2008 and 3rd here, MotoGP podium. I think it was his first MotoGP podium in 2012. 10th at Silverstone, not a bad ride by him at Silverstone on the Aprilia. Been a tough old time for him recently.
Here comes Lorenzo then. Powers that factory Yamaha out of the final corner. He comes over the line, he goes second. So he lost a bit of time in the 4th sector, Lorenzo, but it's a 1:33.774, which has moved him up inside the top 2. It's Pol Espargaro still leading the way with 4.5 minutes of FP1 remaining. Kudos to the Spanish rider, who will still be feeling, I would imagine, quite battered and bruised after that heavy crash at the British Grand Prix.
This is Marc Marquez. Just through the tinted visor, we just catch sight of him. Still running in 5th place as he tips it into the first right-hander. 1, 2 and 3. Right, left, right, tight corners. Yeah, very careful at the start in those corners. We've seen many a rider.
Yeah. He lost 4 tenths there, Nick, as well. In that final sector, he lost 4 tenths of a second. I'm just wondering whether he's just having a few acceleration issues coming out of that tight number 14. You know, you're coming out of Caro corner. This is a replay of Danilo Petrucci. Quite early in the corner there, Petrucci lost the front end. We can just see as well, he just twisted his left arm onto his body.
That's horrible the way he fell, wasn't it?
A very awkward crash for Danilo Petrucci.
Quite lucky not to damage the collarbone the way he got the arm trapped underneath it, but he's okay.
It's going to be interesting listening to the riders' feedback today. To Michelin, of course, with those 2 new front tyres in the allocation. The front, the soft rather, and the medium. Both never tried before by these riders, and we've already seen, well, we could say 3 riders crashing on the front end. Andrea Iannone's was slightly self-inflicted with braking on the curbs.
Lorenzo could go top, but for how long? Crosses the line in 2nd place. What about Maverick Vinales on the Suzuki? 2nd place for him. Pushes Lorenzo back to 3rd. Decent lap also coming up from Cal Crutchlow with that left leg going out into that final left-hander.
Yeah, picks up 1 place. Crutchlow then, a 1:33.920 from Crutchlow.
Marquez up to 3rd place at 1:33.729 for last year's winner and the current championship leader. Back with Valentino Rossi.
Fantastic start to this Misano Grand Prix weekend. Less than half a second covering the top 11 riders in opening practice. Brilliant action again from the MotoGP field. Here's Rossi, quickest end through the 3rd sector. This will be warming the hearts of the Misano crowd because the local boy done good. Valentino Rossi has got 1 corner to go. He comes through turn number 16, the Misano corner. Here's Rossi heading to the top of the timesheets.
Rossi crosses the line, now goes top, 1:33.605. Keep an eye on Polo Spargaro.
Stays 2nd. So Valentino Rossi leads the way. Tavuglia, his hometown, a 10-minute drive away.
Lock the gates, because you're not going to get in, I can promise you. That remain the same. Long, long way to go. Michele Pirro just got a glimpse of him behind Valentino Rossi. We have 1.5 minutes to go. 1:33.605. It was a 1:33.273, the fastest lap in the race last year from Rossi's teammate Jorge Lorenzo before he crashed. And Rossi up through the 1st sector.
Rossi through turn number 8 then. Hard on the gas, he'll come to complete the 2nd sector. Up now, he's through. Just lost a fraction of time, but it's going to be close for Rossi to improve on that 1:33.605, which has him 0.03 of a second quicker than Polo Spargaro.
Up through the Cavoni curve, around 280 kilometres an hour, and then start braking. 12 and 13. We've already seen Tito Rabat, and we've seen Andrea Iannone go down here. 3rd sector time any moment now as the Yamaha race boss looks on. Lynn Jarverton here be pleased what he sees. Rossi up through the 3rd sector.
Well, Misano's been Yamaha territory of late. 6 Misano wins here since we returned in 2007. Just 2 for Honda and 1 for Ducati. Here comes Rossi then. Will he improve on that 1:33.605? He does. He picks up another 10th down to a 1:33.52 through 3 for Rossi.
Polo Spargaro still running in 2nd place at 1:33.587. We have 10 seconds remaining. An exciting, dramatic first practice session here for round 13 of the MotoGP World Championship.
You can see why this Yamaha does like this Misano circuit. We've got Rossi 1st, Polo Spargaro 2nd, and Jorge Lorenzo in 3rd place. Look at this from Stefan Bradl.
Yeah, I think he'd had some time knocked off it. I think he exceeded the track limits on a previous lap, but that isn't the case at the moment. Aprilia are waiting up, off the pace a little bit now, but still a very good lap from Stefan Bradl.
You know what the problem is with that Aprilia RSGP bike, Nick, in that 3rd sector? It's where you need brilliant drive coming out of turn number 10, and you need top speed coming through. That 3rd sector is all about energy performance, which we know is where the Aprilia struggles a little bit. Yeah, he lost 7 tenths in the last 2 sectors, did Stefan Bradl.
Checkered flag is out. First practice session is over.
Another quick lap coming in from Rossi. Nick, he's up by over a 10th.
Marquez through. We ride back with Valentino Rossi. And he's up through the third sector as well. Rossi now 2 left-handers to come. Familiar number 46. Lives just over the hill into Vula. This place will be going absolutely crazy. A 1:33.523 we're looking at. Can he go faster?
He comes over the line now, Valentino Rossi. He can, a 1:33.451 from the Italian. Puts him over a tenth quicker than Pol Espargaro. Pol Espargaro comes over the line now. He should stay in second place in the standing, so a great session by Espargaro. Rossi will be top though by the looks of it. Having a quick glance through the timesheet, it does look like it's first blood to Valentino Rossi. The Misano circuit staff now wondering if they can squeeze another couple of temporary grand slams.
If you hear a lot of banging and crashing in the night, you realise, one, they're trying to come in under the fence, which I believe they've done many times before, and two, they'll be trying to build some new grandstands. Turn 11, Valentino Rossi, around 280 kilometres an hour. You're 37 years old. You shouldn't be doing things like that at that age, should you?
That was a thoroughly enjoyable start to this Misano Grand Prix weekend. The top 15 riders covered by less than 1 second. Oh, there was a late fall for Scott Redding as well. So it's been a tough start for Ducati, certainly for Pramac Ducati, and that's an engine problem for Redding. Not for the first time this year, Nick. He's had some technical problems with that GP15.
Very much so. No, he hasn't had the best of luck, Scott Redding. The only dark side at the moment, we just wait news on Andrea Iannone in the clinic after his crash, and they're slightly worried about his back. I mean, I don't think it's a serious problem because he walked away from the crash, didn't he?
Just a quick word on some of the other crashes. So Tito Rabat, I'm told, is absolutely okay. Danilo Petrucci was feeling his left shoulder. However, the team also say no, absolutely fine.
Yeah, he fell really awkwardly, Danilo Petrucci. Sort of had his arm trapped under as he fell. But I'm glad to say his collarbone is okay. But, well, you'd say he's the local hero. He's more than that. He is the top man in this part of the world. And he's come out with a top performance. A 1:33.451 from Valentino Rossi.
Got to say, you're looking at to the left-hand side as you look at Rossi, to Valentino's right. Jack Miller, great performance by the Australian. He was down in 13th place, but he was just over 0.6 of a second behind Valentino Rossi, while Jack Miller tries to fight his way back to full fitness with those back and hand problems. It was the hand that hindered him so badly 5 days ago at Silverstone.
And that run 3 for Valentino Rossi.
Brilliant.
Really top class. Maverick Vinales will not be disappointed. 3rd place for the Silverstone winner. Just, well, 3/10 of a second down on Valentino Rossi. Is the first practice session. The weather today, one would imagine, is going to remain exactly the same, just that little bit hotter. That may not suit the Suzuki so much, but Vinales really carrying on where he left off at Silverstone. Danny Pedrosa, who led the way for some time, now down in 6th place, but I don't think he's going to be too disappointed. Marc Marquez back in, another crash for him, but he's okay, and he's running 4th fastest. Let's have a look at run 3 of 4, Marc Marquez.
Yeah, no, he was able to run consistently in the high 1:33s, but nothing to threaten the pace of Rossi in that session. There's Pol Espargaro, you can see wincing in pain. That was a tough old 21 laps for Pol Espargaro. Be a tough old Sunday afternoon. It's a 28-lap MotoGP race, so I've got to say big respect to Pol Espargaro, because that was an awesome job to take 2nd place after that big crash at Silverstone.
That certainly was. Loris Baz, obviously involved in that same crash, ruled out of the race today. Had a scan on Monday. So Valentino Rossi, it's music to the ears of any promoters, especially here at his home circuit. A 1:33.451 leads the way to the first practice session for round 13, the MotoGP World Championship.
It was the Spanish Armada behind him. Pol Espargaro 2nd, then Vinales, Marquez, Lorenzo and Pedrosa. Dovizioso 7th, Hector Barbera 8th, Crutchlow 9th and Scott Redding 10th, despite a late engine problem for the British rider.
Then Aleix Espargaro, Stefan Bradl, Jack Miller, Michele Pirro, Danilo Petrucci despite a crash, Alvaro Bautista. The big news, Andrea Iannone a crash, and he is in the medical centre at the moment.
18th place for Alex Slows. Great job by the British rider there, ahead of Yoni Hernandez. A fall at turn 15 for Eugene Laverty. Tito Rabat was a heavy crash at turn 13.
Right, let's have a look at Valentino Rossi's opening gambit here in Misano. First of all, let's watch the master in action. It's a 1:33.451 for Valentino Rossi. Lap 20 of 20, the last lap of the session. 3 times winner here. And on the podium in the last 2 races, second in the World Championship, 50 points down on Marc Marquez.